Over the past few decades of NASCAR racing, one of the more interesting silly season classes occurred during the 2006-2007 time period. For the sake of time and quality, we're only going to look at the 2006 transactions in this episode. While there were a few good long-term decisions in the NASCAR garage, there were a lot of awful decisions and flops that ended up failing horribly down the road. It is most certainly a cataclysmic tale that deserves a drawn-out description in this video. Before we get things started, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and most importantly, hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single upload. Don't get behind on new content like the geniuses at Bill Davis Racing, and instead stay ahead of the competition. So anyways, on to the 2006 NASCAR silly season. Let's start out with the positives, as a few names found short and long-term success with their new teams in the NASCAR Cup Series. Despite winning a championship with Jack Roush the season prior, Kurt Busch was eyeing a change when he became a free agent. Roger Penske was also looking for a driver to continue the legacy of the Blue Deuce, so the 2004 NASCAR champion was a perfect match to replace Rusty Wallace. Ironically, the elder Busch brother would also drive the Miller Lite sponsored car just months after he was cited for reckless driving. Luckily, Kurt Busch's immature behavior cleared away for a few seasons and he was able to succeed at Team Penske. Driving the Blue Deuce, he was able to win 8 races plus an all-star victory and finished a high 4th in points during the 2009 season. He definitely got his fair share chugging cans of Miller in victory lane. In his last call with the captain, Kurt Busch netted 2 races in the Double Deuce before his immaturity got him kicked out of the organization. Fortunately, Kurt Busch has cleaned up his act and is putting together a solid season in Ganassi's #1 car. This move ultimately gave Penske a consistent young driver for the late 2000s into the early 2010s, and this kept them relevant as the organization had failed prospects such as David Stremme and Sam Hornish Jr. The good vibes continue with the 07 Jack Daniels team as Richard Childress decided it was time to promote Clint Bowyer to the major leagues. Dave Blaney was released after a liquor-worthy performance, and the talented young star brought some new life into RCR's 3rd entry. Driving the 2 AC Delco Chevrolet, Clint Bowyer had a consistent Grand National campaign, netting 2 wins, 12 top 5s, 22 top 10 finishes, and finishing 2nd in the season championship. Yeah, it's just too bad the 2 car was already taken in the Cup Series. Unlike many other drivers in his time frame, Clint Bowyer gradually put up results in his rookie season, netting 11 top 10s and a 17th place points finish in the NASCAR standings. Considering the team netted 2 top 10s and a 26th place finish with Dave Blaney, it was a good season for the Emporia, Kansas driver, and it certainly gave them promise for the long-term future. Over the next 5 seasons, Bowyer became one of RCR's top drivers as he earned 5 wins and 3 chase appearances during his tenure. Today, Clint Bowyer is still racing at NASCAR's highest level at Stewart-Haas Racing, chugging along in that #14 Ford Mustang. His journey to the top-tier ride certainly links back to the decision by Richard Childress, and he is definitely one of the better moves in this class. The final good move during this 2006 class is also the best move overall, as Coach Joe was looking for a replacement driver in the 11 car. With a full season of Grand National competition under his belt, Denny Hamlin was given the steering wheel to the FedEx race team after an abysmal season with Jason Leffler. Unlike teammate JJ Yeley, Denny Hamlin put together consistent results and performance in JGR Grand National equipment, which led him to a solid 5th place points finish. You know, he might experience some growing pains and struggles as a rookie, but with his maturity, he won't stay down for long, especially with Tony Stewart as a teammate and mentor. With that said, Denny Hamlin started delivering winning performances right off the bat as he immediately put that 11 car in victory circle during the non-points paying Budweiser shootout. FedEx also shipped him a broom which he would use to sweep the Pocono races, and his 3rd place finish in the season standings beat drivers such as Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordon, and teammate Tony Stewart in points. While he derails too often in championship scenarios, Denny Hamlin has certainly earned wins and success playing second fiddle to Kyle Busch. So now we get on to the bad, as these are teams and drivers that had the potential to succeed but underachieved greatly in those certain aspects. Nothing dumpster fire worthy, but they just didn't have the performance to get results. Gee, this one might cause some controversy, as MTJ to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated was ultimately a bad move for both parties. At the time, it was seen as a game changer, especially with Martin Truex Jr. coming off back-to-back Grand National titles. Unfortunately, the Bass Pro Shops team didn't catch much success, as MTJ went 1 for 144 in 4 seasons and only made the postseason once in 2007. I would say the main reason for the failure was DEI, as under Teresa Earnhardt, the organization was crumbling at an alarming rate, especially with the departure of Dale Jr. a few years later. MTJ has also succeeded without the Wicked Witch, winning 19 NASCAR races and the 2017 championship. This had the potential to be something big, but disappointed with the decline of an empire. During his first 3 seasons in the Havoline car, Jamie Mcmurray was one of the most consistent drivers on the tour. He earned 18 top 5s, 46 top 10 finishes, and had a streak of top 13 points finishes entering the 2006 silly season. Mcmurray was a good car away from success, and on November 7, 2005, he signed a contract with Roush Racing. The renumbered 26 team received head crew chief Bob Osborne, who was coming off a breakout 2005 campaign with Carl Edwards. After a 2005 season that saw Roush put all 5 cars into the chase, there was no doubt that Jamie Mcmurray would break out and earn success alongside Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle, and Carl Edwards. That is, until the 26 team was a crown royal for inconsistencies and bad luck, as McFlurry had a dismal 2006 campaign compared to Roush standards. He only earned 3 top 5s, 7 top 10 finishes, and finished a low 25th place in the final standings. Certainly the Joplin, Missouri native wanted to white out this first campaign. Now, while he rebounded to win 2 plate races in 2007 and 2009, he unfortunately never got going in one of Jack Roush's strong Fords, as he never made the chase during his 4-year tenure. Because of NASCAR's new 4-car per team rule, the 26-car ceased operations after the 2009 season, and Jamie Mcmurray flocked back to Chip Ganassi Racing, where he would win a Daytona 500 and finish 11th to 13th in points from 2015 to 2017. I consider this a bad move instead of a disaster, mainly because of the 2 wins, but most certainly this was Roush's worst decision in an otherwise flawless decade. Petty Enterprises is one handshake away from death, as its 43 and 45 teams have seen some atrocious results over the past few seasons. Brought in to save the day is championship winning driver Bobby Labonte and championship winning crew chief Todd Parrott. If NASCAR fans crowned an off-season champion similar to NFL and NBA teams, the 43 team was considered the most improved team. Unfortunately, those 3 seasons with Labonte driving the Cheerios Dodge were fairly mediocre, as the 43 only netted 3 top 5s, 13 top 10 finishes, and an 18th and 2 21st place points finishes. While the younger Labonte disappointed and failed to bring the team back to glory, he at least increased their performance and made them a sub-top 20 race team rather than a 30th place field filler. Even though the organization went out of business, that's why I don't consider this move a massive flop. My goodness, here we go. Now it's time for the ugly. Some truly awful decisions that either saw underdeveloped prospects get cup rides, veterans trying to save organizations from death, or sponsors looking to capitalize on a younger age group. Get out the popcorn and beverage of your choice this weekend, because the action and drama is certainly present with these silly season moves. The one-strong Morgan McClure Motorsports is inching closer to its deathbed, as longtime sponsor Kodak is gone, and the 4 team in 2005 only put together 1 top 10 finish. After flopping with Bill Davis Racing, Scott Wimmer and new sponsor Aero Exhaust are brought in to earn results. Unfortunately, the second chance for Wimmer does not go in his favor, as the Wausau, Wisconsin driver earned a best finish of 19th at Bristol and DNQ'd 5 times. Because of sponsorship issues as well as a 38th position in points, Scott Wimmer was let go after 29 races Ever since his 2002 injury at Kansas, Sterling Marlin failed to replicate his success in the Chip Ganassi number 40 entry. His statistics for the Coors Light team hit a Rocky Mountain low as he only netted 4 top 5s, 23 top 10s, and was coming off a 30th place points finish a season prior. Despite getting an offer from Richard Childress Racing to join the 07 team in 2005, Marlin remained loyal to his Ganassi contract and declined the offer. Luckily, he got another contract offer in 2006, this time from Bobby Ginn, as he was tagged to drive the number 14 Chevrolet, which was renumbered for Sterling Marlin as a tribute to his father Cuckoo Marlin, who died a year prior. Unfortunately, the Waste Management team was a complete dumpster fire on the racetrack, as Marlin's only top 10 that season was a 9th place at Richmond. The only bright spot was the fact that Marlin kept the team in the top 35 in owners points, which meant they qualified for every single event. Sterling Marlin's tenure ended in 2007 when Ginn Racing merged with DEI, as the 14 team's points were given to Paul Menard's 15 team. This move was only good to lure in a potential buyer, which that's what happened to DEI, and what do you know, Sterling Marlin gets screwed over in the long run. Man, such a sad way for the Silver Bullet to go out. With Bobby Labonte moving to Richard Petty's declining enterprise, Joe Gibbs Racing needed a young face to drive the championship-winning Interstate Battery Chevrolet. Ultimately, Coach Joe decided that J.J. Yaley was ready for the NASCAR Cup Series. Wait, are you serious? If Brandon Jones ever gets promoted to the Cup Series, the move would parallel J.J. Yaley almost perfectly. The Phoenix, Arizona native had fairly mediocre statistics in one Grand National campaign. The 18 team lacked battery power in the driver compartment, only netting 4 top 5s, 12 top 10 finishes, and J.J. Yaley had an average finish of 19.7 in JGR equipment. Yep, definitely ready for the bright lights of the Cup Series. In the least surprising outcome, J.J. Yaley's tenure at JGR was a short-circuited one to say the least, as the 18 team went to territories unfamiliar with Bobby Labonte behind the wheel. His 2006 season set records of ineptitude, as J.J. Yaley finished the year with 0 top 5s, only 3 top 10s, an average finish of 25th, and a final points finish of 29th. For a driver at Joe Gibbs Racing, those are catastrophic numbers to put up, and it remains to this day the worst full-time Cup performance for the powerhouse organization. Not to mention this incident at the 2006 Bank of America 500, where he slid down the racetrack and collected chase contender Mark Martin. This all but eliminated the 6th team from winning the championship. Things got so heated after the crash that Mark Martin's head crew chief Pat Trison had to be restrained by NASCAR officials. His sophomore slump didn't feature much of a slump because the promise of a successful career was already burnt down and disintegrated into ashes. He earned his only top 5 finish at the Charlotte 600, mainly because of fuel mileage during the end of the event. His tenure at Joe Gibbs Racing was a massive failure, as he finished with just 6 top 10 finishes and a highest points finish of 21st. Meanwhile, Bobby Labonte, driving for a far worse team performance-wise, finished higher in points and earned more top 5s and top 10s during that time frame. J.J. Yaley was released from JGR after the 2007 season, which resulted in the 18 getting a highly talented driver next silly season, and as you all know, the rest is history. Despite 4 straight points finishes of 30th or worse, Ken Schrader is still a valued veteran in the NASCAR garage. This time, the 51-year-old takes his cane to the iconic Wood Brothers, a team that struggled last season with Ricky Rudd behind the wheel. This move worked out as great as a 93-year-old grandma driving a gas-guzzling Ford Taurus on I-55. The team's average finish declined by 6 positions from 2005 to 2006 and finished a cataclysmic 31st place in the point standings. This later proved to be Ken Schrader's final full-time campaign, as he ran part-time in 2007 and retired to the Midwestern dirt tracks throughout the heart of the Midwest. A storied veteran in the NASCAR garage, but unfortunately his time was up. As for the Wood Brothers, this started a painful rebuild, which they went back to a part-time operation before re-emerging with Ryan Blaney in 2016. For Bill Davis and his Caterpillar race team, things were not looking too promising entering the 2006 season. Scott Wimmer ended up becoming a NASCAR bust, posting only 2 top 10 finishes in 2 full-time campaigns. 22 teams' condition was as good as an imploded building, finishing a low 32nd in owners' points, which put them closer to the top 35 bubble to get locked into the race. The team needed a veteran change, and Dave Blaney was brought back for a second stint at Bill Davis Racing. Now honestly, this wasn't a bad move for the most part, as the 2006 campaign was a step in the right direction. The first generation Blaney improved the team's points position to 26 and only collected 2 DNFs, which was an improvement from the 7 Wimmer netted the year prior. In 2007, however, the team made a gamble switching to Toyota, and it ultimately led to their demise. The growing pains of a new manufacturer saw Dave Blaney falter to 30th in points, and he only netted 1 top 5 and 6 top 10 finishes from 2007 to 2008. Sponsor Caterpillar ultimately moved from RCR, which killed off Bill Davis Racing. I'm certainly not blaming Dave Blaney for these failures, as coupling a brand new manufacturer with a declining race team, you get instant death. It's just as simple as that. In order to attract a younger male demographic, Coors Light kicked out Sterling Marlin out of the 40 car after 3 disappointing seasons because of his injury. Replacing him would be South Bend native David Stremme, as besides the sponsorship aspect, this move was sketchy and had its criticisms at the time. While he finished top 10 24 times in his 2 full-time Grand National Series seasons, he was extremely inconsistent driving for Terry Bradshaw's race team. He netted a staggering 18 DNFs and only had a lap competition percentage of 90.2%. So once the green flag flew in Daytona, David Stremme's rookie season was a drinking game gone completely wrong. In fact, his performance was so bad that he didn't earn a top 20 finish until race 15 at Michigan. In 34 races, he had a best finish of 11th at Homestead and finished a disappointing 33rd place in the season standings. He only finished 1 position higher than former driver Sterling Marlin. His 2007 season was slightly better, as he netted 3 top 10s at Texas, Talladega, and Charlotte, and improved his points position to 24th. Unfortunately, Coors Light and the Lone Star Steakhouse Saloon pulled its sponsorship, and David Stremme was released at the end of 2007. He would get another chance with Team Penske, but that move ended up being a massive failure as well. Even more moves were made at Ganassi Racing, as Reed Sorenson was promoted to become the new face of Target. The Peachtree, Georgia native was coming off a solid Grand National campaign, where he netted 2 wins and finished 4th in the final standings. He was seen as the new face for the organization, but many questioned whether he was rushed up to the big leagues too quickly. Looking back at this move 13 years later, Reed Sorenson was indeed rushed up to the NASCAR Cup Series. While his rookie season wasn't David Stremme bad, he only earned 1 top 5, 5 top 10s, and finished 24th in the final standings. He nearly got to taste victory lane at the 2006 Auto Club 500, as the Target team was shooting for the bullseye on fuel mileage. Unfortunately, Reed Sorenson's luck ran out again, and to this day, he still remains winless in the major leagues. While many drivers get gradually better and start to contend for races and championships, this did not happen with the 41 team led by Jimmy Elledge. In fact, Sorenson's performance got worse, as his 2008 season saw him finish a horrendous 32nd in points. Reed Sorenson was released from Ganassi, which led him back to the Grand National Series, where he has redeemed himself driving for Steve Turner. Despite the career turnaround, he has yet to get a call from a Cup Series owner. A top-tier race team, that is. Before he became a NASCAR meme, our Lord and Savior Mikey was a circus act for the series during the 2000s. While he was smart to leave Teresa Earnhardt's Twisted organization, his next adventure would feature a partnership with Doug Bowell, probably someone you've never heard of, and the duo would form Waltrip Jasper Racing using the 77 team's owner points. To make this move more of a carnival behind the scenes, they formed an alliance with the declining Bill Davis Racing, as the organization built and operated the 55 team's race cars. Yeah, as you can tell, the partnership between an unknown owner and a race team lacking Napa know-how was a recipe for disaster, as Mikey had an atrocious campaign in 2006. He went on to finish outside the top 35 in points without a top 5 or top 10 outing. While you would think it couldn't get any lower for Mikey, his 2007 campaign would raise the level of embarrassment to a whole nother level. Fortunately, Jeff Green survived petty enterprises after 2 seasons with his reputation still intact, and he was able to earn another ride for the 2006 season. Haas CNC Racing signed the 2000 Grand National Champion to a 2-year contract, and Best Buy would throw a full year's worth of sponsorship at the race team. This is an organization struggling to find stability and results on the racetrack, as the former Zero team had a staggering 8 DNFs and a 28th points finish in 2005. The team was hoping to upgrade to the glorious iPhone and become the talk of the circuit as a rising organization. Despite the change in scenery, the team's performance was as comparable to a spin dial phone, as Gene Haas's organization saw only 5 top 10 finishes and moved down to 32nd in the standings by the end of Jeff Green's tenure. Both parties ultimately parted ways at season's end, where the two would see differing success in the 2010s. So there you have it, part 1 of the worst free agent stretch in NASCAR history. While everyone involved made millions, and I'm sure they aren't stressing about their finances, a majority of drivers and teams faded out of the picture by 2010. This era is certainly different from the youth movement push in today's NASCAR, as the surplus of sponsors ensured a lot of big names and established some big teams during that time frame. That means a lot more teams and drivers were destined to fail, as we'll dive into this aspect during the sequel, as 2007 saw even more of the same in terms of failures and underachieving. So anyways, this is NRF signing out, and just remember, life's a beach, and then you drive.